$214 million a year cost a year nanseng ebeto dwa concerning Sammy Gyamfi, our acting CEO of Ghana GOLDBOD. In fact, Ghana for assume and can the opposition party, the NPP, and individual political analysts and then finance analysts. In fact, economists and or interested in this particular case as far as Ghana concerned. Omunyina edo one or two be. Enti eba ye no komo bebre ana akoswa na ye hwesenka Sammy Gyamfi ono ye GOLDBOD acting CEO obeba na wa be clarify sa particular lawsuit. In fact, as it stands na dey betimi aka say alleged because ye ni report bia no a identifies this is the actual cost. In Sammy Gyamfi Eribata on Facebook post obey a brana the minority caucus a fanka led by Honorable Kojo Oponkroma ono the MP for Ofuansi Aribi ombe say they need a bipartisan committee ad hoc impromptu ba kwa ombe timi ahwem na losses wa Bank of Ghana are sustaining through gold for reserves program no. Omo to me ahwe na omo hu ensem bi ewo mu na sa losses no the government of Ghana incur according to the minority caucus no. Yetimi Air.Is no. So yetimi ateso if you say enya de a ebeboa na sustaining debt on mine no already accumulating. Na this morning breaking news Anna Sammy Gyamfi the acting CEO of Ghana GOLDBOD onya kwan na lawsuit abeto apaswa ene emanfo atwen ase papa obi say wawia $214 million na NPP eba ban mu dia ene Sammy Gyamfi obedem se wohwe NPP for no in particular womo efu soldiers na enya simkuma ni womo kan say Sammy Gyamfi bedem se ne untumi adem no ni nyina no on the $240 million loss through the activity of GOLDBOD at the Bank of Ghana no. Ghana are sustaining. Now Sammy Gyamfi on News for this morning, Joy News. Ana onya akwanya no o chirechire mu ana wo say GOLDBOD edwumadi a wodie no. Sa loss so a enne obia so mu a okabie ana GOLDBOD incur losses. Omo man no akọ ahuhiem, oman akọ ahochire mu no enye saa na etie. Na GOLDBOD wono angasa in its operations na enya de a wa incur losses. Nemo program a say a gold for reserves no NPP aban and introduce here enti say what gold for reserves any gold for oil we no nyina innovative gold introduction initiative for the NPP government as well as administration introduce here send ye be ya ye betumi accumulating more reserves na strategy no initially say okay Ghana yangasa ana yetu ye gold wa there are a lot of individual mining companies and I say private mining companies government ni wo mu efa ketewa bi. How do you make sure say yangasa as a country we are maximizing gold mu a o mine we mu no yetu no say ye tie kuro mu a na obi abetu gold otu ni na wi ana wo de kọ enti dollars ya wo so mine nya na ye de bo mine ho bra currently ye nyina ye witness no na obi aba befa akodi edi kuro mu dia na just say entwaye enti according to Sammy Gyamfi no sa gold no a na foreigners ebefa edeko na wo mo repatriate FX no especially they maintain the dollars in their own country enti ensa magana biem. How do we ensure say sa sika no kaye maimu? So what GOLDBOD and say of course formerly PMMC and say okay artisanal miners small scale miners sa gold no a wono mu enya no ene GOLDBOD ebeto sa gold ni nyina enye no nkwa san ebe trace gold a sa di small scale miners ni nyina enya no be trace ni nyina na in an attempt say to gold no na revenue no abaye oman ne dia no matimi asa kebe environmental degradation because of course there are the other side of the story. Say some of these gold, if we galamsey muneba. But how do we make sure say galamsey obi eka ho asem say galamsey say so say ye so it is making even the drugs that we intake poisonous. How do we ensure that it is kept? And when we a innovative initiative the gold board edigu akwemu. Na ose no omo no ye strong and say instead of the Bank of Ghana actually printing money, say ya printing sika, which according to Sammy Gyamfi, the elsewhere administration they printed money. They actually printed money for the buying of gold from these artisanal miners. But even with that, it was not as successful as we are seeing today, because na onomo eto gold free the artisanal miners what's not galamsey krum pay puli na tie na miners na horo na mosomo akofa asebi so omo ala mo de anamosomo horo na monya gold no kakra sa enkrofo no na small scale omo say am lines they are not doing it at a larger scale like we are seeing private mining companies Ghana so omo ye no enti ebra PMMC introduces buying gold from these people, artisanal miners, small scale miners, any ye can ho. Omo de bibi e fe no withholding tax 3% eto so you realize that so check gold board for one a chart no a ye de beto screens no wa from 2021 2022 sa gold wa na PMMC eto no esote because of course gold kakra na enya de adwumade no mo san tax ato so it reduced drastically and who say hey ade na sorti enti e wo say ye san ye hu bibi so the following year in 2023 omote san tax is about 1.5 realize according to the chart na the tons of gold PMMC eto free these people no na san cost so that tells you say though it was a good initiative, but it lacked certain innovation. Now, Gold Board currently, near Onoma Air, and said they don't print money through the Bank of Ghana, but Nyoma said, Sa gold noa artisanal miners a produce. How do we make sure say it is not smuggled out of the country? Now we as a country, Ghana can repatriate sa dollars into the economy. Now injecting it into the economy. Now board the Ghanaian economy. Now board the average Ghanaian. And we will collect money from commercial banks. And what trading intermediation. I say intermediary. Okay, you need forex for everyday activity, banking services. Therefore, Mama Iska, of course, gold is a very valuable asset. And a Korean man so the gold board, to gold. Then it gives the gold to a Bank of Ghana. And if there are any losses, it is actually attributed to Bank of Ghana because it's a Bank of Ghana that actually does the selling of the gold. Na Sammy Gyamfi ekasa bebre. In fact, say kase yes panje ni nsem no kan na ebeji ye time nyina nti mumi enya daje na entie Sammy Gyamfi ebra na all breaki the $214 million cost no involved in the gold trading according to partnership our Bank of Ghana and Gold Board wono ewono mumi entie sene ochechemu as the report by IMF.
Laws. Meanwhile, you're doing the same thing.
Okay. You must understand, when I was speaking about the need for us to achieve some consensus, some agreement with miners, for us to be able to buy gold within a certain discount threshold, I was talking about the Gold Board model. I was saying that for Gold Board to avoid losses, the Gold Board will have to engage these miners for them to agree to some minimal acceptable discount. Under G4R, that is not the policy design and the policy rationale. First of all, let's ask ourselves, why was G4R introduced? Once you understand that, you will understand the point I'm making. The Bank of Ghana, Samson, did not wake up one day and said that, look, we want to make profit so we are going into gold for reserves. That was not the policy rationale. Over the years, Ghana has accumulated reserves mainly from the export earnings of commodities like cocoa, oil, and gold, and other export earnings. That has not been enough. So governments have resorted to borrowing to shore up reserves. Because without your reserves, your currency is dead. And without a stable currency, you don't have a country. You don't have an economy. So governments have had to resort to borrowing. Now, when the MPP came into power, that reached a crescendo. Of course, they abused it. And every year, averagely, they were borrowing from the Eurobond market about 2 to 3 billion US dollars. So by 2022, the results were staring us in the face. Debt default, marked by hyperinflation of 54%, currency depreciation of more than 50% by November 2022. And we being locked out of the capital market. So we could not borrow for dollars again. So there was so much pressure on the currency, and the currency was depreciated. It hit 17 cedis at some point in 2022.
Upgraded to junk status.
Yes, because there was no supply of FX to meet demand. So the Bank of Ghana said, okay, now we can borrow for dollars again. And you see, when you borrow for dollars, the effect is palliative, temporal, because you have to repay the debt. And when you are repaying, you have to pay it in dollars. You have to go and find dollars to repay. So the Bank of Ghana said, okay, we will use cedis to buy our gold in Ghana. And we will sell the gold on a weekly basis, T+4, for dollars, and give the dollars to the market. So the purpose of the program has always been foreign exchange accumulation to meet market FX needs and to build reserves. For what purpose? For the purpose of national economic stability. The purpose is not for the central bank to be trading gold like a licensed buyer of the gold board trades gold, buying at discounts and margins to make profit. That was not the purpose. So when the Bank of Ghana started this, they didn't have any gold board in the picture. The market was dominated by foreigners. And these foreigners were not repatriating FX inflows back to Ghana. They were bringing dollars through the Abochi man, through what is called Hawala. So it was not impacting the finance sector, the financial sector. So, and these people buy gold from 1957 till now. Gold is bought in the market at, say, 1% to 2% discount. But the exchange rate is always market rate, the informal retail rate. So Bank of Ghana says, I need a strategy to get the gold instead of these foreigners. So Bank of Ghana, through the Minister for Lands, Samuel Abujinapo, and I can give you the statement, announced to gold traders that henceforth, buy gold, but you can't export. Sell the gold to PMMC for and on behalf of BOG. And that BOG will buy the gold at spot price. That was the incentive to encourage people to give their gold to the state so that we can get the much needed forex. Now that obviously creates cost for the BOG, and the BOG knows that. And that is why I said the associated cost, what somebody would call the loss, is an intentional and strategic expense for superior economic benefits. They know that this will be the cost of buying a spot, because we are buying a spot, offtake discount that BOG has to give to off-takers is cost. Fees it has to pay to its aggregators like GOLDBOD is cost. Purity losses that it suffers between SRF assay and fire assay is cost. So they know that they will attain cost. But they know that the benefits of getting the much needed FX will be far superior. That is it. And that is why Samson, it has never been an issue for the BOG in carrying costs under G4R.
So what you are telling us is that you're practically justifying, the program despite its downside costs.
Exactly.
For as long as it props up the economy the way it has done in the last, year, we are good. So when the IMF was speaking...
And on the point of spot price, just one second. You see, Ghana, a lot of time, we must learn from experience. let your producers, they can put on the screen the table I gave them of good ASM gold exports, small scale gold exports from 2018 to 2025. You see something very interesting. In 2021, the MPP introduced a 3% withholding tax on small scale gold. Small scale gold exports output declined sharply that year. Look at the table. Okay, I can see it here, it's not on the main screen. From 39.3 tons in 2020, worth $2 billion, it dropped to 3.4 tons. 3.4. The whole year 2021, Ghana got 3.4 tons. Single 3.4 tons from small scale sector. Why? Because of a 3% discount in the form of withholding tax. And FX inflows reduced from $2 billion in 2020, COVID year, $2 billion, to $185 million. So learning from this experience, the Bank of Ghana does not pursue its own accounting profits, because the Bank of Ghana is the banker of last resort, is the banker of government. It is mandated to achieve price stability and support government's economic policy. They are there to build reserves to ensure that your currency is strong. And when you achieve that, the benefits you get renders any accounting loss infinitesimal. And when we get there, I'm going to explain to you what those benefits are.
We need to get there as quickly as we can. And for those of you just joining, this is News File. And I've got my other guests here, but the plan, the arrangement was that we will take sufficient time with Sammy.
You said you give me 1 hour.
The CEO of the Gold Board, to allow him sufficient time to explain all the matters that have come up before we bring in our panelists to on this issue. So, is there any plan to eliminate or reduce this?
First of all, let's talk about the
cost
benefits
and losses.
I want to talk about the benefits. Then I will tell you, when we say cost, G for our cost or loss, what it is.
Okay.
And I will tell you how it can be
quickly.
reduced or eliminated. Number one, let's assume we maintain that the Bank of Ghana is right. We must wait for the external audit before we can make any specific pronouncement on losses. It's important, because any figure you throw out there may prove to be inaccurate after an audit is carried out.
The IMF did the wrong thing?
Oh, I think that, well, because they did a fifth review and they have to give some form of report, you can't blame them. But I think that they should have qualified that figure and stated that it is tentative and subject to audit. I think that should have been, objectively speaking, no disrespect, but I think that should have been the approach. But the issue, what are the benefits? Assume, let's even grant them, we've incurred that, and let's even grant Kojo upon Kromes $300 million, that is the cost. What has been the benefits? $10.8 billion foreign exchange inflows, $10.8 billion. Because of that, we have met our foreign reserve target for 2028 in 2025, 3 clear years ahead of time. When MPP was signing on to the IMF program, they said they will attain $11 to $12 billion reserves in 2028. We have done that in 1 year. Because of that, for the first time in about 3 decades, the Ghana cedi has annually appreciated against its trading currencies. 40% appreciation in your adult life. When do you recall something like that happen?
I've been unsure if this is organic and this will stay.
Very organic. 40%. We have brought the retail dollar rate from about 16 cedis to now below 12 cedis. Interbank from about 15, 14.7 to now 10.4.
The Fitch prediction was that we would have gotten to
15.5.
15.5.
They are all shocked.
By the end of
even
this,
the IMF is shocked. And because of that, our external debt has reduced by over 100 billion cedis. External debt. That is why debt to GDP has moved from 726 billion cedis, constituting 61% of GDP as of December 2024, to now 620 billion cedis, constituting 45% of GDP. Debt servicing. Even before I talk about debt servicing, let's stay here. Lending rates, or even like the Ghana reference rate, which is the benchmark for lending, for loans. has reduced from 28% to 15.9%. Something, you understand? Inflation has declined for 11 consecutive months, from 23.8% to 6.3%. Food inflation declined from 27.8% to 6.6%. And according to AGRA, food prices have reduced by averagely 32%. If you look at debt servicing this year to last year, 2025, external debt, the Ministry of Finance had to service $3.6 billion, $1.8 billion to IPPs, and $1.8 billion to Eurobond, debts.
Actually now
about 3.6. You see,
2.5 billion right now.
that money, if we were servicing it at 16 to the dollar, which is what we took, or even assume that, because if we had not done this, the dollar would have crossed 25 cedis, like Dennis Miracles Abuaje said. If we had not done what we did, and so it would have even been far more. But even if you peg it at 16, as compared to what we are doing now, we've saved over 16 billion cedis on debt servicing. This is real saving to the taxpayer.
Does this include the $709 million
yes,
that has just been
because
paid?
That $709 million,
by which the state has saved 3.5 billion Ghana cedis.
Because that $709 million, the finance minister would have had to convert cedis at a higher exchange rate than now.
Yes.
So that difference is what I'm telling you.
At least if we are using the Fitch,
yes,
we would have had to convert to 15.5. But today,
and the saving is still more than 10 billion.
Today it's at 10.1.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
Benchmark actually to budget.
We even benchmark it at 11. The saving is more than 10 billion cedis.
Okay.
Pick the import bill. As at September, $11.8 billion. If importers had to import $11.8 billion worth of goods at averagely 16 cedis to the dollar, and mind you, 16 is even conservative because without this program, dollar would have been 25.
It's going to be around 18 billion.
But you pick even the 11.8 at 16 as compared to 11, the saving is over 50 to 60 billion cedis to consumers. You understand? So this is not a joke. The impact has been a significant national economic gain. The cost is infinitesimal. But when we say cost, when we say losses, what are we talking about? Sometimes people think that Bank of Ghana has taken taxpayers' money, gone to buy gold, sold the gold, and we lost $240 million. Somebody has stolen money or somebody has mismanaged. That is not it. When we say G for our losses, let me explain to you. From 1957 to date, gold is bought in the gold market in Ghana at retail market exchange rates.
You said that already.
The euphemism for black market. Now, Bank of Ghana and GOLDBOD, we are buying gold from a non-bank market, which is a market made up of small-scale miners and gold dealers. And when we go, we have to buy the gold at that retail market exchange rate. GOLDBOD has sought to bring it to interbank. But anytime we peg the price to interbank, we realize that prices in neighboring countries like Cote d'Ivoire become higher than ours by, say, 600 cedis per pound. So all the gold goes to Cote d'Ivoire. And sometimes smugglers are offering prices at informal retail rates. So your interbank rate will not get you any gold. So when we buy the gold at the retail market exchange rates, and Bank of Ghana gets the dollar proceeds, the accountant and auditor comes to audit their books. The accountant must now convert the dollar inflow into cedis. The dollar is not really converted into cedis, but for accounting purposes, it must be converted into cedis because Bank of Ghana's books are in cedis. When the accountant is converted, the accountant says, my hands are tied. I know that the acquisition rate of the dollar is retail market exchange rate. But by law, because you are the central bank, I can only convert the dollars at interbank or BOG rates, which is always lower. So that creates an exchange rate translational difference. Because Bank of Ghana is acquiring dollars at retail market rates and converting at interbank for accounting purposes. That is 97% of the losses people are talking about. Then number two, let me tell you the second part of the loss. Bank of Ghana says, by policy design, I want to buy gold at spot. to fend off smugglers and make sure that what happened in 2021, when gold output, export output declined from 39.3 tons to 3.4 tons, I don't have that situation on my hand. I need the dollars. Because of that, Bank of Ghana incurs about 2.3% cost. What does this cost? Offtake discount, which under MPP used to be at some point 2.2, came down to 1.25 in late 2024, and now Governor CMR has brought it to 1.1, the offtake discount. GOLDBOD fees, and of course, purity losses. Purity loss basically means that as a country, since time immemorial, we don't do the golden standard of assay to determine purity of gold. What we do is SRF, which is only indicative. But when the international buyer buys the gold, he must subject it to the golden standard of fire assay. That creates a purity difference, and that can cause a loss. That is what we are talking about here. So an accountant is right to pick that and say, from a pure, plain vanilla, accounting perspective, I mean, you've made an accounting loss. But it is, like I said, an intentional, strategic, economic policy cost for superior benefits. Now, is there any way to reduce it? Emphatically, yes. Because we are not throwing our hands in the space and say, oh, this is policy design. So at all times, we will incur costs. But first of all, let me even acknowledge that if what the MPP and the IMF are saying...
No, please, this was what
I was told, that I will be giving you 1 hour for a one-on-one.
Yeah, he's insisting on the 1 hour.
And I started at 8:50. I'm 7 minutes away from my 1 hour. So let me finish. I'll sit here and listen to you.
I agree together.
Okay, so...
The rest of the time, you guys
it's for you when we are closing at 12, senior. So
no, we have 3 other topics. That's the issue.
Okay.
Unless one cancel.
There are not 3.
Only one
other, apart from this one.
Okay. That was told
what is the...
It is Sammy Gyamfi, MI sign Betty as say, what the young fan say, I'm paid $214 million. And then the supposed $300 million cost to now a year upon Nkrumah, honorable upon Nkrumah, or you upon Nkrumah, Eka recently. Ebra na one Manoti Kokos no Asia on a press conference no. Yemfa say that cost is granted. Let's look at the benefits. So emphasudia Ediabre Ghana over 10 billion in forex reserves. Or say Abua Ghana akwanya sabebre so say ohwe Ghana ye will be a fair no. A year export revenue threshold. According to Sammy Gyamfi, it is through a year GOLDBOD and then the Bank of Ghana. And a target here, the export administration, Emma Ghana 40 as say, sa export target no, ometimi average in 2028 no. It has taken the GOLDBOD and the Bank of Ghana just 1 year. Our ometimi average that particular export a year threshold, and a huge gain for the country. We was saying ebeka a year CD no wasem. In fact, Finch omu nyina no data analyst society one company omu economic reviews about countries, especially West African countries. Of course, omu ayeti say the end of the year no, the CD will probably trade around 15 cedis per dollar. In fact, currently the CD is trading even as at December, end of December, the CD was trading around 10.6. And so here near GOLDBOD, omudumedie no ayena. In fact, utimi say aboa enema ni bebre. Na osama yete ase say e car na Ghana de yen GDP eso a atie ni nyina no as a result of a year Ghana city stability. Enti ma obi antena ba bi na on downplay a year the development a GOLDBOD aye in collaboration with a Bank of Ghana. Abusia aha Island TV plans. Minim say wani age a video no ho. Enti onya daje a otie no na ye be share wa subscribe channel no na like video no na wa share na afofro so enya bia he. Eya ma re fi say odo comment so e beto ase ho ede amai.